Hello everybody and welcome. Today we are going to do a third-party inspired and heavily featured build on D&D Beyond. I'm calling this one the Beast because I think it fits best, and it uses the Predator Warlock from Humblewood Tales along with an origin feat from the Crooked Moon setting, and also potentially a feature later on from the Valda's Spire of Secrets or the Gunslinger class. It's in both of those, so if you've got either of those then you're fine. This aim of the build is to really boost the power of the form of the beast that this warlock gets, wherein you can grow fangs and claws and attack with your bite and your claw attacks. It's basically a melee fighter where you're getting a lot of health and temp health back as you go. It's quite spell light, so you get a lot of freedom in terms of what you want to choose later on, but it's quite setup heavy. I've not done one of these before, so if you're enjoying this and you want to see more, please like and subscribe, and do let me know in the comments. I love doing builds. I don't get half as much chance to play with them all as I'd like, but this one's just stuck in my head, and I'm hoping that doing a video on it will free it into the world. Anyway, I know that the character builder in D&D Beyond starts with the class now, but we're going to start with the species, then we're going to do the background, then we're going to go back to the class. Well, we'll probably do stats. Look, let's just get on with it. So we're starting off as an elf. Specifically, we're starting off as the Drow elf. The boost to Dark vision is nice, but both fairy fire and darkness can be useful for gaining advantage, which is something we're going to want to do to make sure that we hit as often as possible. For our background, we are going to go with the... Oh, that's interesting. Drop-down menus do not show on the capture. That's fun. Okay. For the background, we're going to go for one of the Crooked Moon options, and we're going to go for the Experiment option, which gives us a few different options. God, I've said options too many times. The point is, we're going to go here for natural weapons. This describes you as having claws, fangs, horns, or some other natural weapon. We are going to say this is claws because this would give us a bite attack. The specifics are important, as you'll find out when we get to level 3. It lets us deal a 1d8 with our unarmed bite, and it would be piercing damage, as is appropriate for a bite attack. Along with that, we're going to boost our charisma by 2, because our charisma is going to be our main stat, and our con by 1. Let's just do the stats quickly. Assuming point buy, nice and simple, you want 8 strength, 15 dex, 15 con, 8 intelligence, 8 wisdom, and 15 charisma. So our starting stats look like this. We're not touching our constitution. We will be getting our charisma to 20 by level 12, and we'll also be boosting our dex by 1 point as well. Now for the fun stuff, we are going warlock. The specifics of the traits as you choose them are really not all that important outside of what you want to roleplay. Obviously you've got charisma, so deception is always good, and arcana or investigation or something like that. The most important decision at this level is your Eldritch Invocation, and we are going Pact of the Blade. At level 1, we cannot use our bite as a pact weapon, so we will be using a longsword or whatever else you can get to ensure that you can get something from that. Otherwise you're going to be kind of stuck not being able to do anything, so we don't want that, obviously, so we're going to make sure that that's not the case. We just get pact magic. Spells here are, again, you're going to be playing as a fairly standard warlock to begin with, so having a couple of useful cantrips is fine. I went mage hand there because I like mage hand. We're also mostly going to be sticking with these two spells to begin with, Hex and Hungering Blade. We ideally want a way to generate advantage, which is where darkness comes in later. We'll take Devil's Sight too. But I'm hoping that you'll have another player on your team who can provide you advantage to stop you having to cast darkness or fairy fire, because we really do want to be concentrating on Hex because we are going to be attacking a lot. Hungering Blade is a Crooked Moon spell. It basically lets us imbue a weapon or our unarmed strikes being the important thing here because our bite attack counts as an unarmed strike. It imbues it with some necrotic energy, so you deal extra damage equal to your spell casting modifier, which is lovely, and then you gain temp health equal to the necrotic damage that you deal. That's the extra necrotic damage basically, so that's going to be 3 to begin with. 3 temp health is not bad at all. This is not concentration and it lasts for a minute. It's a bonus action, which means you can attack on the same turn, but so is Hex, so there's a lot of setup to this. If you want to play it with all the bells and whistles, I'm going to assume you've got time to do that, but in reality, you'd probably have to choose one or the other. But my opinion is you should send your DM pizza and they should let you cast all of the setup stuff beforehand. But hey, they're probably not going to do that. Level 2, we get another Eldritch Invocation. We actually get 2 of them, which is always nice. We're going to be... So the Hex... What is it? This is the one we want. The Hex Shredder is one from the Humblewood Tales book. There's nothing to say why it shouldn't be compatible with the 2024 rules, but that's not a thing that D&D Beyond has currently implemented, so you'll want to just add it to your notes. The point here is that this gives us our claws, which is an important part of things. We can now use claws which deal 1d6 slashing damage, and you can use your charisma modifier on these instead of your strength modifier, which is lovely. They are also treated as light for the purpose of 2-weapon fighting, which is very, very important. So that's one of the options we're taking. The other option is entirely up to you. I would go Devil's Sight because we sort of want to have advantage, so having another player cast Darkness is going to be a huge help, especially if they just cast it on us, so we can just be this cloud of brutality floating around the battlefield. We also get Magical Cunning, which means we can restore a spell slot, which is not all that important, really. So it's going to feel odd to have that level 2 option just gone there, but you have chosen it. It's just not on the thing because it doesn't work. For reference, at this point now, so because we can make 2 claw attacks, we're kind of foregoing the bite for this literally just this level now. We'll do 2d6 plus 6 plus 2d6 plus 3. So it's 2d6 from the actual claw itself, 6 because that's your spellcasting modifier twice, or your charisma modifier twice, 2d6 for the hex, and then 3 for the spellcasting modifier, and you'll get 3 as temp health back. So that's 23 damage at level 2, which is not bad. At level 3, things really, really kick off at level 3, which is lovely. We get our patron, and we are of course going for the Predator from Humblewood. Tails. The most important thing that this gives us is the form of the beast. As a bonus action, this lasts for 10 minutes, so I do think doing this before combat is perfectly reasonable. Like, genuinely. You're flooded with a generate. Basically, I'm going to skip the fluff. You gain temp health equal to 2 times your Warlock level, up to a maximum of 20. I don't know why it doesn't go higher than that, but that's fine. We're only taking this build to level 12 anyway, so it's not the end of the world. You get advantage on perception checks, basically, and stealth checks. You get, this is the important thing here, you sprout pointed teeth and razor sharp claws, which are natural weapons you can use to make unarmed strikes, not natural weapon strikes, against creatures within 5 feet of you. You have proficiency with these weapons, and you can add your charisma modifier to both of them. On a hit, your bite deals 1d6 and your claws deal 1d4. You will note that we have a bite that already does 1d8 and claws that deal 1d6. And this is where this gets really, really fun. If you already had a bite or claw, talon attacks count as claw attacks, in the case you want to do this as an Aarakocra or something, its damage increases by one step. A d4 becomes a d6, a d6 becomes a d8, etc. As a bonus action after making a bite attack, you can make a claw attack. This means that our bite goes from a 1d8 to a 1d10, and our claw goes from a 1d6 to a 1d8. That's a lot of damage at 3rd level. We get an additional bonus at level 5, but we will come back to revisit that when that is relevant. Spells here you want to take, I like Mirror Image and Darkness. We don't get Darkness until level 5 as a drow, so we can replace that later on, but you can pretty much just pick whatever you want. Again, the ideal here is that somebody is casting Darkness on you to let you run around being a literal monster. Our damage at this point is 1d10 plus 3, which is our charisma, 1d8 plus 3, charisma again, 2d6 plus 3, which is the hex plus the hungering blade thing. That's 26 damage average and 3 temp health back every single turn, on top of the fact that you start off with temp health as well. So you're already becoming pretty sturdy, but things get much, much more fun. At level 4, we get to choose our ability score improvement, and for this one, we are going to go with Elven Accuracy, which is why we're going to choose Charisma, and this is going to give us 3 rolls whenever we have advantage on something, basically, which is why we've got Darkness and Devil's Sight. Again, the ideal is that someone else is casting Darkness, but if they can't, then you're going to be dropping Hex for this instead, so the damage will be lower, but you'll have a higher chance to crit. Ideally, if everyone's working together, then you're going to have the extra damage and the extra chance to crit. This also boosts our charisma up to 18, which means that our damage changes slightly again. It goes from an average 26 to an average 29 because of the additional modifier changes. But because you'll be rolling 3 dice on your 2 attacks, your chance to crit goes up substantially. It's not that big of a damage increase, but it is a pretty big boost in your potential damage increase, which is important. Level 5, we get options. Here, the first invocation we're going to take is Thirsting Blade, which gives us an extra bite attack, and then you can choose pretty much whichever one you want. It really isn't that important. You can go for a roleplay one if you want, if you're swimming or something, maybe Misty Visions. Just genuinely pick whichever one you like the look of. It's up to you. I quite like Fiendish Figure to make sure that you're always coming with temp health, but then you've always got temp health anyway because of the form of the beast. On the subject of the form of the beast, we now get access to this final paragraph. Starting at 5th level, your muscles strengthen and your movements quicken. You can now make 2 claw attacks using your bonus action after you've made a bite attack with your action. Additionally, you can dash or hide as a bonus action while you're in the form of the beast. We're probably not going to be doing either of those things, but it's good to know. In essence, this gives us an extra bite attack and an extra claw attack, which means that our damage goes to 2d10 plus 8 plus 2d10 plus 8 plus 4d6 plus 4, because we're hitting 4 times now with Hex and all of that good stuff. It means that our average damage is 54, I believe, and that's assuming no crits. Again, all 4 of these attacks you will have super advantage on because of elven accuracy. Your chance to hit skyrockets dramatically at this point, which is lovely. You also get more spells. I'm not even going to bother looking at them because, like I said, this is not a spellcasting warlock. This is a tear your throat out warlock, which is fun. Level 6 gives us another useful feature from the warlock patron. You get Thrill of the Hunt. Once per turn, when you bite a creature, you can cause the attack to do 3d6 of extra necrotic damage, and you regain hit points equal to half the total of the damage dealt with that attack. You can only do this is one of the reasons we're crit fishing with this build. Once you use this feature, you can't do this again until you score a critical hit with a bite or claw attack, or until you finish a short or long rest. Because we are effectively crit fishing, and we're doing it fairly well, we should be able to use this a lot more than once a combat. And the ideal is once per turn, but that's not always going to be the way, obviously. The 3d6 means that the bite attack that we do initially is the 1d10 plus the modifier plus the 3d6, which equates to, plus the hex, plus the Hungering Blade, which means that we're doing roughly 26 damage. And we'll be getting half of that back as health, so 13 health, and we'll be getting 4 of that back as temp health as well. So that's a 17 health swing, along with 26 damage to something for one of our attacks. This boosts our damage up to an average of 64, which is very respectable given that we're using nothing but our bites and our claws. Our bites, our jaws, and our claws. There we go. We then hit level 7. Level 7, we get another option here. This is largely unhelpful. So just take whichever one you want. Whispers of the Grave could be fun. So I'm going to just choose that for the sake of it. We also get more spells. But again, it's just not that interesting for us, really. Level 8, however, is very interesting for us. Level 8, we're going to be taking a feat, like I said, from the Valder's pack, which is Mage Hand Press, and we're going to be taking the one called Focused Critical. This allows us to boost our strength or dex. We're going to boost our dex, which will be a nice little AC bump just by 1 point, but it also lets us crit with our unarmed strikes on a 19 or a 20. This means it's almost impossible not to crit if you manage to hit with all 4 of your attacks, which you should be doing assuming someone else is helping you with darkness, or you're doing it yourself and you're just forsaking the hex damage, which I think is perfectly reasonable. This doesn't boost our damage in terms of stats, but it does boost our damage in terms of the ability to crit, which means that we can do more of the Thrill of the Hunt bite, which is huge because it also means we can heal more and do more damage. It's just good. If you can't take that, then I would recommend just boosting your charisma to 20. This is going to give you a straight up damage increase, which is what we'll be doing at level 12, along with the other level 12 bonuses that we get. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Sometimes that's the correct thing to do. If there is a different feat that you'd like for roleplay or anything else, the one that boosts your charisma or your dex, if that's what you want to do, like Grappler here could be quite fun because, as I said, these are all technically unarmed strikes. Then go for that. It's very much pick your favourite. I really like the crit fishing stuff, so this is what we're doing with this. Level 9 is another big one for us. See how exciting the level ups are with Warlocks? We're taking the Life Drinker feat. This is, you have to be level 9 for this, and you have to have the Pact of the Blade. Once per turn, when you hit with your packed weapon, which are both your teeth and your claws, you can deal an extra 1d6 of necrotic, psychic, or radiant damage, and you can expend one of your hit point die to roll it and regain a number of hit points equal to the roll plus your con mod. This boosts our damage up to an average of 68, depending on how you round things out, along with gaining 13 or so health and 4 temp health, or 5 temp health if you've taken the ASI instead of the feat, and you're getting extra hit points back from your hit point die as well if you are in a pinch, which is incredible. That's to say nothing of the fact that you might be exploiting different weaknesses and that you're going to be critting more if you have taken Focused Critical. So that's just so much stuff, which is glorious in my opinion. Level 10 gives us Fearsome Presence, which lets us shout and make things frightened. This is a good way of making creatures frightened of you, which means that you can get advantage on them. So you could potentially drop Darkness here or have someone else drop Darkness, but they do need to succeed on a spell save. Thankfully, we're using our charisma modifier to attack, which means our spell save DC is pretty high, and that's to say nothing of any magic items that you might have had. I'm going to go with magic items at the end as well, because there's a lot of fun options because of the way that we're playing this. Level 11, we get the next tier of spells again, sort of, but not really, because we're a warlock, so we get the Missile. None of these are especially great for us. I think Scatter is a good choice because you can teleport a bunch of creatures, which means that you can potentially save people or put yourself next to whoever you want as well, which is great. And then finally, we get to level 12, gives us another Warlock Invocation, and we are taking... what is it called? Why can I never remember what it's called? Devouring Blade, which lets us do an extra bite attack again. And like I said, for this particular version of the build, we're also going to boost our charisma to 20. This means every round we will be doing, assuming you get to crit, and you're going to be doing 3d10 plus 15 plus 3d6 plus 2d8 plus 10 plus 5d6 plus 5, and some of those rolls are going to be, or whatever version of crit rolls that you use. This is a baseline average damage of 84, with roughly 14 health back and 5 temp health every single turn, because you should be critting on that number of attacks. This makes you incredibly hardy, and then in a pinch you can also roll a hit point die if you need to gain a little bit of extra health, not to mention the fact that you should theoretically be playing with other players, and hopefully one of them is a healer who's supporting you and your preposterous amount of damage. This is with no magic items. Simple Wraps of Unarmed Prowess, which affect all unarmed attacks, not just those with your fists, would boost your damage by 5. Because you're making 5 attacks. So any items on that front are going to be huge. You can also obviously boost your spell save DC or potentially your charisma score, depending on how kind your DM is with books. You've got a lot of really fun potential items here. The Wraps of Unarmed Prowess are obviously a great one, but there are other items which boost your unarmed damage, including things like the Eldritch Claw, which I believe... Let's double check this. Yeah. So this gives your unarmed strikes a +1 bonus, and it also lets you, as a bonus action, make your unarmed strikes move 15 feet away from you, so you can bite at distance and scratch at distance, but also deal an additional 1d6 per turn, which is another 5d6 on top of it. Each d6 is 3.5 average damage. 5d6 is 14, so 17 and a half, so you can round it up to 18. That boosts us over to the 100 damage threshold just with this one item. Again, it's another bonus action, very bonus action heavy, but I think it's all pretty cool. Yeah, that's it, really. This is a very silly, very, very aggressive build. I call the character the Beast. I stand by it. I think that's a really sick concept, and one that I think would be a lot of fun to play out. If you don't like the idea of being an elf, obviously you wouldn't take the elven accuracy in that case, and that's perfectly fine. But you could do this with a shifter or with any of the lycanthropy kind of vibes. You could do a lot with this as a core, and then just choose a different species to fit whatever it is that you're looking to play. I think this build is really, really fun. I think it would be incredibly solid, and like I said, there's a lot of really entertaining magic items that you can use to change how it would feel and look in your head, which is obviously important, but also just to generally massively boost the damage output and utility of the class. Yeah, but that's it. If you enjoyed this and you want to see more of these weird third-party builds, let me know. I might go higher than 12. It's just that this one sort of stops at 12. You can then theoretically go up and you could get some sorcerer levels, or you could get some paladin levels, or something else. If you wanted to start smiting on some of your strikes, then that would obviously be very entertaining. But that is the end of this video, so if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment if there are any particular classes or subclasses that you'd like me to see play around with. I can't promise mathematical perfection like Colby or Treant Monk do, but I can promise it'll be fun, and that's got to count for something, maybe. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, I'll see you next time. Goodbye.